This vehicle is absolutely crazy with how good it can be in the top level, and of course we are looking at none other than the beast of the Panther II, and this is the tier 8 German kind of medium tank leading up to the E50 and the E50M, and this tank is very powerful because of the fact that it has an excellent gun as well as being able to successfully deal with a lot of the opponents that you'll be meeting at this tier, along with higher tier vehicles using both the AP and premium rounds that this tank offers with that long 88, and that means that you are essentially able to pinpoint accurately shoot at all of the weak points of these tier 10 vehicles, and hence why we're able to compete even in these tier 10 games. And this one is a very interesting replay that I wanted to show to you guys, because of course at the moment I'm trying to focus on these lower tier games where you can see that even in these sorts of games you can still have really good results and come away with the results that you similarly see in tier 8 games where you're top tier in a vehicle like this. But key thing is that we use this position early on to get some free damage, because in a tier 10 game you want to make sure that you aren't trading at the beginning of the game, because of course when you have limited amounts of health compared to a tier 10 you're not going to come out on top, and when you have the alpha damage that the Panther II has, which is essentially low 200s, yeah, you're not going to be able to really outtrade anyone that you meet at tier 10, because they're either going to have 390, 320 all the way up to 490, and if you're coming up against tank destroyers who might be camping at the beginning and you don't know where they are, then they're going to be able to deal anywhere up to 1000 damage or maybe even more depending on what you're meeting, which is of course is never going to be good when you're in a tank like this, which is why we play more passively in the beginning when you're looking at a tank like this, and you should always be doing this at the beginning of the game. I'm not saying camping in the base, you're seeing a lot of teammates in the base camping, I'm not on about that, I'm on about getting easy free damage at the beginning where you don't have to make any pressure plays, where you're not having to carry and you're just simply kind of evaluating the battlefield and making sure that you target anyone that maybe overplays. If they kind of overreach in their games, then essentially you're just the one that's going to pick on them, you're going to help out your tier 10s, and if you play the Panther like this you can rack up a lot of damage within the first few minutes of the game, and then it's really free reign to explore how you want to deal with the game in that later stages. Now he's seeing that there is a medium tank behind me, I wasn't sure whether to go for him, but because he's now engaging our teammate here, this is what the Panther can do. It can prowl and pounce on all of these people that are pushing. You can see this is the top tier medium tank. I'm going for the tracking shot, I want to lock him in place, use the reload speed of this tank, keep him in place again. Don't manage to actually hit that tracks, but it doesn't matter all too much because we have our teammates pushing in. Maybe we can get one more in, and we do, and we actually get the kill there on the Centurion Action X, picking up another 800 damage. So this is what it's all about. It's not about sitting there and trying to full health for tier 10. It's never going to happen in the Panther II for the most part, unless of course you're playing up against an absolute bot, and even then most of the time they're going to at least get one shell into you. But either way, there we're trying to get a shot onto the Progetto 65. We only managed to get one, and unfortunately he actually clips us for one as well, which is gutting, but at least we've dealt 1900 damage and only taken 300 in return. Now I'm a little bit scared to poke here again, because we never know, he might actually have a brain and he might try and blind fire us, which is of course what you should be doing if I was in that position. But we get spotted somehow, and I'm thinking it might be the light tank who's in the center, or maybe the light tank has crossed over across from us, so I'm kind of worried about what it is, and I don't want to do anything stupid. So we knock down the tree, we wait a few seconds because we don't want to pull out just yet, and then we pre-aim where this light tank's going to come around. We saw on the map he was making an aggressive push, we're just pre-aiming where he's going to be. Unfortunately we over predicted where he's going to be and we actually shot at a rock. I mean, that's fantastic there, Eclipse, brilliant idea. But either way, we're now not really caring about our hit points, we're just trying to get as much damage as we can. This Progetto's obviously got the lock on us at the moment, he's just trying to get as much damage on as he can before he gets inevitably sent back to the garage. But we finish off the enemy Object 705A, or Object 705 even, not the 705A, it's the tier 9, and that means that we've picked up what? Combined damage just under 3000, which is pretty decent. We've only got 5 assistance damage, which is, I mean, funny in itself, but at this point I'm deciding, you know what, it's time to push. I want to get some more damage. We've had a good game so far, so why not try and make it even better? But at the same time, we're not necessarily an easy win right now. So I decide to come and help this heavy tank out with whatever it might be, even if it just means that I'm the one spotting for him so that he gets a bit of intel on where this guy's going to try and push him from. It looks like he's going to try and push, but doesn't seem like he is at this moment in time. But we'll wait here just a few more seconds, make sure that, you know, whatever it is that might be trying to push it, believe it was a TD, there it is, it's the E4. He's obviously pushing around that corner. We spot him for our teammate there. And hopefully we can just keep doing this and the E4 can't really push aggressively towards our teammate. And our teammate just has to sit there and wait. Unfortunately, he does take the hit from the E4, at which point I'm like, you know what, hopefully our teammate just doesn't throw it away. So I decide to go help him out by actually pushing. Now, there are 2 TDs. I have no idea what they are. Well, I know one of them is an E4, but the other one is unknown. I didn't actually check the actual stats. I'm saying affirmative, I'm coming to help you guy, and then we push around from behind and hopefully we can get a little bit of damage here on the guy from behind us. But unfortunately, we do manage to find the E4 and he's not looking our way. Now he does turn for us, which is of course, you know, tier 10s going after the low health tanks. He does manage to pen us, but don't worry because we're not a complete bot. We know where the weak points of the E4 are, which is the lower plate on the left and right side. And of course we managed to pen him with the premium rounds, premium being imperative in this sort of situation. The enemy artillery goes for us, and we now have a situation where we've got 2 tanks on the enemy team still left alive. I don't want to throw it, I don't want to get taken out at this point. I've had a brilliant game, so we're just going to hold it a little bit more passively at this point. And so there is a TD somewhere, we have no idea what it is. We should have probably looked in the scoreboard to check what TD it is, whether they've got any kills, because that could mean that they're AFK in the base, and see what artillery it is, because if it's a high tier one, he only has to splash us by a minuscule amount to be able to finish us off. But you know, at this point I'm kind of a little bit scared, I don't know what I'm doing, and so, you know, the rush of crap to the brain decides to come out, and we decide to push towards where this TD might be. Now pushing over here, obviously a little bit risky from the left hand side. We have no idea if he's going to be behind us, and the enemy artillery actually finishes off the IS-7. We get spotted, which kind of highlights that the TD is going to be from behind me, but in fact he's actually up by where the GW Tiger actually is. And with the GW Tiger now pushing towards me, we put one hopefully into the top of his turret, which we do manage to do. He now decides to YOLO me, and we pull back down that slope. We're going for the tracking shot on him if he comes down, but he doesn't manage to get the chance, and the 268 on our team finishes him off, and we pick up 3,700 damage in a tier 10 game. So it's definitely able to perform in this top level. We pick up 30,000 XP in that game, and it was actually the last game that we played in the Panther 2, so a nice little ending to that tank. But of course using the ×5 XP boosters with the XP with interest operation at the time. But let's jump into the next gameplay and have a look a bit more. With the Panther obviously being a kind of medium that relies upon side scraping and getting into an aggressive spot, but also trying to utilize teammates and being a proper support tank for your team, of course a city map usually isn't the first port of call for this vehicle, but it is a decent one if you can use the side armor. But of course, as you start going up through the tiers, the tanks tend to get the higher penetration where you don't want to side scrape against people, but luckily for us we're playing in a tier 8 game up against tier 6s, 7s and 8s, so this is the bottom tier game, and even on a map that is predominantly for heavy tanks we can still have a good game. Now I get spotted when I come up here, which tells me that it's either a TD or light tank that spotted us, or someone with really good view range, so I decided I'm not going to bother. I don't want to get hit for free without me even being able to spot them, or if I do spot them just pulling back down a hill or avoiding the shot entirely where I don't even get a chance. Instead I come over to the heavy tank corner, and hopefully we can do a little bit of work over here to come away with a win. Now we push heavily into this location here, which is of course where the majority of tanks on this side will push up to. There's a Challenger sat in the middle. I feel like he's maybe AFK, but actually no, he appears to be playing. but for some reason didn't notice us pushing up. That is not a good spot for those of you wondering. On the enemy team, definitely don't go there. You are going to get punished pretty hard, especially when there's no cover to get behind either if you do get caught out in that location. So just avoid that at all costs. Or alternatively, you know, you can push right up and get behind the rubble pile on the right hand side of us, which can offer a little bit of protection, but you do need team support to avoid people just coming up and YOLOing you. But of course the Challenger not in that position, not doing that, and didn't really have any team support, so no problems in taking him out, and it picks us up a little bit of early damage. But at this point I'm deciding, you know what, we're not going to try and bait it out with a Trinity which has a very good turret. We're instead going to try and find that VKD who's in the middle, or alternatively the Astron Rex. Now all of these tanks have relatively high alpha damage, including the UDES 14 Alt 5, which is a bit of an annoying tank to play against, but with the VKD pushing towards us, of course the other German medium tank, potentially a medium tank that might be better than the standard Panther at tier 7, leading on to the Indian Panzer, that tank, and of course the Leopard line as you go through the mediums at the German tech tree. But of course this one being a tier higher and having the increased DPM of being a tier higher, and of course the increased health point pool, is not really a problem with trying to take this guy out, and he is quickly removed from the game, which is lovely, and that picks up over 2,000 damage against our opponents. And once again we've not lost any health, which is fantastic, because these tanks, when you can trade with them at the late game, this is just, it just becomes so much fun, because they don't really have anything they can do against you, and you're just sat there farming up their hit points. There's not a lot they're doing, and of course coming away with a victory is obviously what everybody wants to do, and increase your win rate, and of course come out with more damage. And so you just have to maintain that hit point pool. If you can do that and get some damage kind of proactively by just keeping an eye on what's going on and just pre-aiming people, like for example this Oho who's pushed way too aggressively. If you can track them in the open, which is what we were doing here, then yeah, you can get a little bit of extra damage. The Oho, unfortunately, we don't have enough penetration with our standard rounds to go through the front of him, so there's a surprise, and actual armor working for once. But as soon as we load the premium, that tank is going to find itself in a little bit of pain, as we can basically out DPM him. We just have to not get hit by his big chunky gun. There is of course a medium in the middle, which happens to be the Astron Rex, which is of course the auto-loading tank, which is a little bit of a pain, but for some reason our teammate here is just bushing into us. I'm not going to complain too much. I guess we were in a position, we're trying to side scrape against the Astron Rex, but unfortunately for us, not able to avoid the shell. And at this time, it's time to just go. We try and figure out what the Motherland's armor is. Of course, the lower plate is where you want to hit it, and there'll be a Motherland video coming soon as well. But of course, managed to push him. Easy one there, picking up 3,000 damage on the city map. But there's still a little bit of damage to be had, especially on this Oho, if we can come up from behind him. Hopefully he's not looking our way. Is he looking our way? Instead of just blindly going around the corner, we decide to side scrape out. He is looking our way. Oh, for God's sake, unfortunately. But luckily we are able to find the Trinity, who's locked at the back. He actually makes a good play. He's retreated back to that position. It's a good play. I mean, he's probably not had a whole lot of damage in the game, but I mean, he is in a perfect place to counter us. But at this point, he's not really having that much of an impact. The Oho is, of course, looking at our teammates now. We might poke around. Can we get a shot into him? We do go for the kind of bulbous areas, but unfortunately not able to peng. Can we get the lower plate? No, we can't, and this is the most annoying bit about playing the Panther. Can we get another shot? No, we can't. Oh dear, we should have been going for the cupola on the top of the vehicle, or the cupola going on the top of the vehicle, and hopefully we can get a shot there. Now, I don't want to take the hit. We could get penned, and the turret of the Panther 2 not being entirely brilliant, so we don't want to take any damage, even if it means it's a bit of a boring play. We don't want to get taken out, and in fact we want more damage against the Trinity, so we're going to YOLO him, get as far forward. It doesn't matter if he hits us a couple times, it doesn't matter if he takes us out. but unfortunately no more damage for us anyway, as we crash into the pipeline column, which is always good, but still a decent result, picking up 3,245 damage with 1,300 base XP and 24,000 there, again for the XP with interest operation where we were just farming up that XP. But of course that is the Panther 2. It's definitely a very solid tank that I think a lot of people underrate, and I think it is a tank that is very good in the right hands. It is a tank that relies upon both having the DPM and using the armor a little bit, but of course doesn't have that much armor to the point where you can bounce reliably, so it's more of a case of just being very supportive for your team and just taking the actionable plays within your own game to come away with a win. But other than that, I hope you did enjoy this video. Make sure to check out the next videos that are going to be coming, and that will be looking at the E50, which is the tier 9, and that will come very shortly, so subscribe if you're interested in seeing that, and all of the gameplay and tank reviews will be in the gameplay and tank reviews playlist for you guys to go back and have a look at some of the vehicles that you're interested in, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.